Elizabeth Warren. She did it. Okay, I'm going to tell you what she got accomplished in a second. But first, I want you to remember what Elizabeth Warren said to the Wells Fargo CEO when he was in front of her committee, and she was done letting these bankers get away with it. So when John Stumpf was there, here's what she said.
Evidently, your definition of accountable is to push the blame to your low-level employees who don't have the money for a fancy PR firm to defend themselves. It's gutless leadership.
That never gets old. It's always great to hear. So, of course, Wells Fargo did this giant scam where they set up these fake accounts for millions of their customers, and they profited off of it. And then the CEO and all the other executives were like, "What? Oh, were we running a giant scam? Oh, I had no idea. Me, poor little CEO of me, I don't know what's happening at the company." Of course, earlier he had bragged about how he was the CEO of the year and knows exactly what's happening at his company. Yeah, that's what we thought. Consequences are coming in a minute, but first, more Elizabeth Warren.
This is about accountability. You should resign. You should give back the money that you took while this scam was going on, and you should be criminally investigated by both the Department of Justice and the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Damn! Suplex! Oh, backward one! I watched too much wrestling as a kid. God, that felt good. It feels good to hear that every time. So CNN described Stumpf's reaction as this. He looked like a deer caught in the headlights with a tin ear understanding, addressing, and communicating the problem. But you see, the thing is, the reason he was caught off guard is because these bankers that have been committing fraud for a long time have been going up to Capitol Hill for a long time with their buddies that they donated money to and just walking away scot-free. And nobody ever laid a finger on them. So when she lays an elbow right on top of his head, he's like, what happened? I thought I was supposed to get away with this. Didn't I bribe you all to make sure I could get away with this? And so it turns out she's not playing ball, and that's why the bankers hate her. That's why we did a story earlier this week where in some of the leaked emails, we found out that the bankers were telling Democrats, hey, you got to keep Elizabeth Warren under control, because this is what happens when they can't control her, which is awesome. Okay. So John Stumpf, who at the time said, well, I didn't know what was happening at the bank, earlier had said that he was, quote, the keeper of our company's culture, indeed. And remember that things kept getting worse and worse once, not just when the scandal broke, but when there was so much attention paid to it after those Senate hearings. Then we found out, as CNN again comes to report here, the probe comes after employees told CNN Money that the practice of opening fake accounts began years earlier than Wells Fargo has previously acknowledged. So they were lying. They said, oh, no, it was the low-level employees and we fired them already. Then we found out, no, actually this scam had been going on much earlier. And we also found out that they had earlier, when no one was paying attention, fired the whistleblowers. People who said, hey, we shouldn't be doing this. Our customers don't know we're opening up accounts in their name. That's totally wrong. You're fired. Okay, so they knew exactly what was going on. So why am I telling you this today?
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Down goes Stumpf! Down goes Stumpf! The Wells Fargo boss is out in the wake of a national uproar that erupted after the regulators accused the bank of creating as many as 2 million fake bank and credit card accounts. They got him. Now, earlier we had reported that he had to give up his bonuses from this year. Now, let me give you some context for that, and then you're going to see in a second that you shouldn't cry for Stumpf. Stumpf made $19.3 million in 2015. He gets to keep that. But amid the scandal, he agreed to forfeit much of his 2016 salary, including his bonus and $41 million in stock awards, as the bank launched an internal investigation into the phony accounts. See, this is what happens when you have accountability. When you have no accountability, they keep all their bonuses, they keep their jobs, and they just keep on robbing us. When you have accountability, I know it's a shock, we haven't had that in a long, long time in Washington. Well, there are consequences. He lost about $60 million when they decided to take his pay away for 2016. Well, if you run a giant scam, should you get rewarded for it? I hope not. But he does get to keep the $19 million. Now he's out, so he's not going to make any more money going forward. Again, don't cry for him. Overall, at Wells Fargo, he made $100 $134 million. And that's why they run the scams. That's why they run the frauds. Because even if you get into a situation like this where he doesn't get his bonus from this year, he resigns. He gets to resign, right? And he has no golden parachute. And now they're crying for him because he doesn't have a golden parachute. Are you kidding me? But even in that situation, he already got $134 million. See, if you don't put them in prison, they're going to keep on doing these things. So now, why did they even do any accountability at all? Meaning, okay, Senator Warren yells at you, but you know, these guys, what do they care, right? They care because their stock price is dropping. So then the guys on the board make less money, the shareholders make less money, the other executives make less money. So then they've got to resolve it. So the real reason they did this, Wells Fargo shares were up 2% in after-hours trading after the announcement. So they were dipping. They say, okay, we fired the guy or / he resigned, right? And their stock goes back up. Accountability. Okay, you heard them where it counts. Their pocketbook. That's the only thing they care about. Now, I did want to give you one last piece of context here. For people who are fired, oftentimes they do have golden parachutes, unlike Stumpf. A golden parachute, you might not know it because it doesn't exist anywhere else in the world other than top executives. So none of you have golden parachutes. No, none of us have golden parachutes. In this case, they explain because it is considered retirement. He didn't get the lavish severance packages that have gone to other CEOs who are leaving under a cloud. He had no golden parachute. Boo-hoo, boo-hoo. But let me give you a sense of how those work. Some cash in, they explain. When Viacom gave the boot to CEO Philip Dauman, he stood to make $84 million on the way out, according to the executive pay tracking firm Ecular. I want you to understand something. On the way out, you get fired, and then they're like, oh, sorry about firing you. Here's $84 million. Well, that'll lessen the blow. That's true. David Simon of real estate firm Simon Property Group stands to walk with $302 million, and Leslie Moonves of CBS would get $225 million if they were ever fired. Now, they're not fired, and those are relatively successful CEOs. So nothing justifies $300 million for getting fired, but at least that gives you context. But there are some CEOs that are total failures. I mean, let's call it what it is. Marissa Mayer at Yahoo has been a disaster. And nonetheless, if Yahoo succeeds in selling its core assets to Verizon, Yahoo CEO Marissa Mayer stands to get about $50 million as part of her package. Nowhere else in the world do you get $50 million for failing. This system is totally broken. These guys are just all friends and they just pay each other. They go on each other's boards and they fix all the laws and all the rules. So they buy off almost all the politicians and they get to keep giving themselves giant amounts of money, not only for succeeding, but for failing. That is not the American way. You have got to fix this. Elizabeth Warren doing this is wonderful, but we've got to have more Elizabeth Warren. She can't be the exception. If they are really our representatives, she should be the rule. Wolf-pack.com. Get the money out. Get an amendment. Make them do it. Don't ask them to do it. And remember Elizabeth Warren. Here's one last one for you guys.
The only way that Wall Street will change is if executives face jail time when they preside over massive frauds.
Make them do it. Get the money out. Wolf-pack.com. Make her the rule. Together we can change the media, make it more representative of you and not the powerful. Come join us, make a difference. tytnetwork.com/join.